I have no problem with it whatsoever. They have rights as American citizens to do what they're doing. What I like and what I appreciate about today's generation of players is that they're willing to articulate why that is. I don't want to hear from a Tom Brady who skips a White House visit that, I had a scheduling conflict or something like that. I don't want to hear that, even though Michael Jordan did that one time. I think it was the H.W. Bush, if I remember correctly. I think it was in 1991. I don't want to hear that. If you have, it's tradition for the President of the United States to invite professional teams and athletes to the White House to celebrate victories. It's an American tradition. And obviously, whether you like the president or not, you're a citizen of the United States of America. It would be apropos to either do so or not to do so, but articulate why that is instead of coming up with a bogus excuse. I don't find the modern day athlete doing that right now. Whether we agree or disagree, the fact that they're willing to put themselves on Front Street and articulate what their position is and why is what I appreciate, because what it says to me is that you're conscientious enough to make a decision. You're not just being dismissive or disrespectful or whatever the case may be. It's open for debate as to how informed you may be, but evidently it's something they thought about and they made that decision. And as Will would say when folks are debating back and forth and stuff like that, that is a form of respect for me to articulate exactly why I'm opposed to you rather than being dismissive and lackadaisical about the President of the United States. I don't have a problem with that.
If you listen to what the athletes are saying, they're basically describing, whether they know it or not, and Will, I'm sure you're familiar with the term the Overton window. The idea is that there are subjects in the public discourse that are okay to discuss. And there's an idea that some people sometimes can shift the window and make things that would be outrageous to discuss normally in public, at least, certainly in a political way, okay suddenly to discuss. And the process that happens, through which that happens, is that the other side says, well, we need to engage to disprove this idea. But by engaging it, you're discussing it. And what these athletes are basically saying is that Donald Trump has done so many things to disqualify himself from their presence and from their kind of lending their presence to a discussion of some of these things. And, the list is very long. I don't have to get into it here. The athletes are saying they don't want to participate in a shifting of the window of public discourse to areas that are not good. Yeah, that's what they're saying. And so I think it's important for them to say it. And I don't think, Will, that any of the presidents in my lifetime, an athlete would really be within the realm of reason to say that about a different president.
Well, first of all, Max, I guess I entirely and utterly reject your premise. I don't think there's a single idea on the face of the earth that is not worthy of engagement. And it doesn't mean that idea has value. It means that even by engaging it, you can destroy it. By ignoring it, you give it power.
Point of view for
First of all, I don't have any problem with these guys skipping out on the White House. That's their personal prerogative. They have that right. If they don't want to go, that's fine. I do have a problem with opinion you have espoused in the past, Max, that if you do go, you have a problem with that you indict the men who choose to go. By engaging, by showing up, you're not suggesting that you agree. It's not an endorsement. All of these players, Max, going to the White House, they're not endorsing Donald Trump nor any of his ideas. They're honestly not even really engaging it. They're just going and participating in what amounts to an apolitical tradition in the United States.
When you said it's an issue of respect, what these athletes are saying, some of them is, I do not respect this president and I will not show up.
But see, what you're doing, I think, is you're taking showing up and endorsement and making them the same thing. And I think that's entirely the wrong prism.
No, they are.
It's not. Well, and I don't begrudge them the decision to do what they want. But if they think showing up is endorsement, they're wrong. The real prism, I believe, is this. Are you being used? Are you a stooge? Are you being used as a propaganda tool? We talked about this when Dennis Rodman went to North Korea some years ago and sat down with Kim Jong-un. That wasn't engaging him. That was being used as a stooge. That's the question. And a tradition that's been going on in America for decades is not a propaganda tool by Donald Trump.
Going to see Donald Trump at the Trump Towers and coming out of those golden elevators, you had there were numerous people that walked through those elevators that people said, oh, they're being used or not. This is not the case with the White House. It's a tradition. It's a tradition. The president, you win a Super Bowl, you win a championship, you get invited to the White House.
Bigger than Donald Trump.
But Max, getting back to your original point, and I think it's fair to give you an opportunity to answer this, you and Will. Here's my only issue, Max, with what you said earlier. When we talk about an athlete like Will was alluding to, where you're basically co-signing the regime or what have you, you got to remember something, Max, and here's where I'm diametrically opposed to your position. There are plenty of dudes, when you talk about Trump and how people may feel about this president, you're assuming that you know exactly what people felt about previous presidents. I'm here to tell you, there's a whole bunch of people throughout the United States of America. I think it's fair to say that it wasn't me, it wasn't you, but there were a whole bunch of people that had a problem with President Barack Obama being our commander-in-chief. There were people that had a problem for different reasons with Bill Clinton being our commander-in-chief. There were people that had problems with Reagan being our commander-in-chief. You never know specifically, according to the individual, how fervently against a particular president they are. So you can't
You're proving my point, Stephen.
I'm saying you can't say, my only point is, you can't say that people have never felt this way about others that they feel about Trump. You don't know that.
Personally, I think it's an apolitical moment. I don't think it carries agreement or endorsement. And even if it is political, I believe the most horrendous ideas on earth should be engaged with, because that's how you destroy them. That's how, by facing them, facing them down, not pretending they don't exist.
I'd have to say I agree with you totally. I really do on that one.
It's actually apolitical and political.
Well, it's a combination of both, but Will is absolutely right about the last point in terms of a willingness to engage.
That's a separate discussion for another day.